Crystal and Varys, and today I'm going to be reviewing Where the Veil is Thin. It's a compilation of fairy stories edited by Cerece Rennie Murphy, who is also an author who's worked on the Wolf Queen, I think it's like a YA fantasy series, and Alana Joli Abbott. This is an advanced reader's copy that I received through NetGalley. All opinions are my own. This was a short story anthology that I enjoyed. I think I would recommend it to people who are already sort of familiar with Fae folklore. I think the stories pretty much stand on their own. I think it's an issue of like some things might feel like kind of cheap if you don't know that like the plot device or the storyline is like a thing, you know? Like, I don't know, if I was coming to this from like an epic fantasy background where I didn't know a whole lot about the Fae, like I'd be expecting like if I need to break an illusion, I need like some flashy amulet or like some magic item. And you know, sometimes in Fae stories it's as simple as just like turning your jacket inside out, you know. I think anyone can enjoy these stories and take something away from these stories, but I think it's like really for people who do love stories of the Fae. So I'm filming this part after the main review. I just didn't feel like changing or faking or pretending that this was all continuous. I just want to say that of the stories in the anthology, about a third of them have a folkloric base that is like distinctly not European. For the rest, I'd say a lot of them are drawing pretty heavily, like I said, on Fae folklore, so I think that's like British and Scottish. I think I saw some Irish in there as well, and then some kind of more like general slash like amalgamated like European slash like Western folklore. So there are 14 stories total. I'm just going to start off with my highlights, go to honorable mentions, and then just kind of go through the rest of them. So highlights for me were Or Perhaps Up by C.S.E. Cooney, The Loophole by L. Penelope, and then Old 12 Nights by Gwendolyn N. Or Perhaps Up is the story of a woman who drowns in a river and what the afterlife looks like for her. I thought the writing was beautiful. So I just love the whimsy and the surreal imagery of what the spirits look like in their afterlife and like what they do to occupy their time. This one did sort of have a plot to it, but I just enjoyed like puttering around with these spirits as they're trying to keep busy, as they're trying to deal with loneliness, as they like seek companionship and community. And then the next is The Loophole by L. Penelope. I know of L. Penelope from, I believe she wrote a YA fantasy series, the Earthsong series. And The Loophole is about this bar where supernatural creatures from across the globe gather. So there are the Fae in here, and there are also some creatures from Filipino folklore and from African American folklore. I won't say too much about this one because I think a lot of watching the story unfold is that you don't really know what type of creature the main character is. Even once it was revealed what she was, I was like a little confused because I wasn't all up on the lore, so I wasn't super expecting where it was going to go either. I will just say that she is a character from African American folklore and that she is not a creature that I usually see in the role that she's playing in this story. I really loved this one, I think, just because of the scope, like that we see all these different creatures. I don't know what it is about bars and Fae stories. My introduction to the Fae, it was I think Holly Black. So I'm used to like the urban fantasy, like the grimy, like back alley, like that's where the Fae hide. And so I felt like the bar at night with like the flickering neon lights was like very like in with all that. So it was like something familiar and also just different because of the scope, which I really enjoyed. And I thought the story was like very innovative. And this is one where I would like to see like a novella or like a series about this world. Like I want to see more of this story, even if it's not necessarily with like the characters that are presented here. Next up is Summer Skin by Zin E. Rocklyn. This is a name I actually recognize because of her recent short story, Night Sun. I remember seeing N.K. Jemisin retweeting her short story and praising it, and I just felt proud on her behalf. I don't know, I just love when I see authors shouting each other out. This one I can't say too much about. Part of the story is sort of like realizing like what type of creature the main character is. I was like asking around trying to figure out what she was, and I will just say that I don't think she's like a literal creature from Caribbean folklore. I think that she might be a reimagining of someone. What stood out for me with the story was this really creepy mix of the main character who is like very obviously like intimidating to people, but who's also very deferential and very cowed in certain ways. And then my last highlight was Old 12 Nights by Gwendolyn N. Old 12 Nights is a reference, I think, to Yule. It's a tale of an apple spirit and the corrupting force who she's supposed to fight, and she ends up befriending. The apple spirits are kind of tree spirits. They protect the trees, and the corrupting forces are like forces of rot and decay. This was a story that I loved because it was so suspenseful and tragic and tender and sweet. Like I just had like so many feelings about the ending and like the friendship between these characters. The ending was like this big reveal of why the apple spirits and the corrupting forces are at war and why the corrupting forces do what they do. And then the honorable mentions. There was The Tooth Fairies by Glenn Paris. This is a story about some tooth fairies that have to collect a tooth from a young child and how their expedition starts to go south. In this story, the tooth fairies are kind of linked to the fae and specifically to vampires. Tooth fairies don't necessarily need the tooth, they need the blood that's associated with a tooth coming out. And I thought that whole connection was very clever. I enjoyed sort of a more like grim take on tooth fairies. This was very close to being like a highlight for me, but there was just like some weird things going on that made me go like, huh? This story set in Louisiana, and like it's established that the child that the fairies are trying to get this tooth from, they don't say her race, they just say she's brown. So maybe she's Latina, maybe she's black, we don't really know. And there was some like random references to the Confederacy that made me like tilt my head and like took me out of the story. One of the fairies is wearing like, it's described as Confederate era attire. The dog in the house is named General Lee. Glenn Paris is a Black author who is from Atlanta. So I'm like, is there like some like cultural reference I'm missing here? I just kind of felt like confused. Like I felt like there was like some point being made. Like I felt like I was being told this for a reason, and I couldn't really parse out what the reason was. And it just kind of like took me out of the story. So that's why it's an honorable mention. Then there was See a Fine Lady by Seanan McGuire. This is the story of a grocery store worker who's able to see things that other people can't. And she discovers this power when she's bagging groceries, she's given someone their receipt, and this fae woman riding a unicorn comes into the store and she's the only one who can see her. This story isn't super plot driven, not a whole lot happens, but there's a funny bit involving the invisible unicorn's invisible poops that made me laugh. And then last for honorable mentions is The Seal Woman's Tale by Alicia Contis. This is a story of a Selkie who has a booming business of fleecing unsuspecting humans. These humans come to her asking for advice with their lovers, and she will transform into their lovers and fake whatever they want. She does this until one day she gets a customer that she didn't bargain for. I enjoyed this story because of the bitter ending. I liked the unique uses of the Selkie's transforming ability. And then for the rest of the stories, I'm just going to kind of give a summary so you have an idea of sort of what to expect from the stories. So there was Glamour by Gwendolyn, which was a reimagining of the story of Tamlin based in the music industry. There's Don't Let Go by Alana, Joli, Abbott. This was another Tamlin reimagining about an anthropology student who's visiting this island for part of her research study. And this one also layered in some like Irish mythology around the Tuatha De Danann. Then there was The Last Home of Master Tranquil Cloud by Min-Soo Kang. This is a story of women seeking revenge and the lawmaker that they honored. This one featured fox spirits. Then there was Your Two Better Halves, A Dream with Fairies in Spanglish by Carlos Hernandez. This is like a choose-your-own adventure. I was really hoping to love this one, but I wanted it to be like this big epic thing. It's more like a joke type story. For what it is, it's fun. It just wasn't what I was hoping it would be. Then there's Take Only Photos by Shanna Swenson. This is a story of a supernatural encounter in Sweden caused by removing a stone from a campsite. And there's The Storyteller by David Bowles. This is a story set in South America or Central America about a grandmother who is on her deathbed telling her grandchildren the story of a shapeshifter. This was the shortest one in the anthology. That was really why I think it didn't stand out for me more. I felt like there wasn't a lot of time to do much of anything with the ideas or imagery in this story. And last up is Colt's Tooth by Linda Robertson. This is a story about a young boy spiting the tooth fairies and a terrible visit to the dentist. So on the whole, I enjoyed this collection. I think that this is going to mean more to people who are fans of the Fae and Fae stories than others. So thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. If you want to discuss, please comment below. If you haven't already, please subscribe to stay up to date with me and my bookish activities. Thank you again. Goodbye.